He's a smug. What? A smug. That's Jewish for brick, right?
This is Schmuckast.
Hi, this is Schmuckast.
Welcome to Schmuckast, ladies and peeps. How are you?
What the fuck is up?
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Well, we actually have shit to talk about. It's actually true. The last 5 podcasts, we've talked about nothing.
That is true.
This time, we have something to talk about. Do we? Do we ever?
I don't know, man. I'll let you run with this one. You had the topics.
Well, yeah, thanks for the Creature of Black Lagoon. Never seen it, and it was really cool. It was like one of my first monster movies I've ever seen. You said you saw it a long time ago, or?
Last year.
Last year, and you really liked it?
Yeah.
It was like a slasher movie.
Pretty much. Inspiration for Jaws.
Yeah, I was surprised all the kills in the movie. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Kind of fit like. It reminded me of Anaconda. Remember that movie?
Of course.
You ever see that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with the boat and everything. Yeah, it was good. I mean, lots of underwater stuff and.
Pretty much any jungle movie was inspired by Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah, I bought that whole box set last year with all the 30. It's got 30 Universal Monster movies on Blu-ray. Great collection. And
what's your favorite one? Frankenstein?
No, Bride of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, and Creature from the Black Lagoon are my top
three favorites. All right, cool. I gotta see The Invisible Man then. I like Claude Rains. He's a good actor.
Yes, very good.
Yeah,
very good movie.
He's great.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10 on the Schmuckast meter.
Awesome.
It gets 2 cheese moons.
I hate rating movies. You know that.
What does it get on the Schmuckast?
Black Lagoon,
1 to 10.
I'd say about an 8.
Okay, there you go. That's pretty good, especially for its time. It was a lot of fun.
A lot of good underwater cinematography and pretty good performances all around.
Some creepy imagery.
I loved the creature suit.
Yeah, it looked really cool. Anytime you saw the claws coming out of the water, it's pretty creepy. You know, but it's dated. But I mean, it's from the fucking 40s or 50s. So what do you know? You know, it's kind of cool to watch how people lived back then. I guess that's part of it too.
It's a fun movie. It's definitely one that begs to be in color. I mean, I love black and white. You know, black and white from that time period especially, but
wouldn't that kind of take away from the classic feel to it? Like the classic look to it?
Anytime you color, all I'm saying is because of it's one that really would have looked good had they shot it in color.
They should remake it.
Jaws.
Oh, no, but they should remake the Black Lagoon movie.
No, they shouldn't.
Yeah, they should. I was kind of bummed out by that movie, though. Like, my God, the poor fish was just doing his own thing in his little habitat, having a great life. And us humans had to go in there, fuck with him, and then kill him. It kind of made me sad. It kind of bummed me out. It felt like, damn, dude.
You do know there are 2 sequels, right?
I know. I just felt like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park when he talks about, what he's talking about, Discovery. It's like the rape of the natural world. That's what I got out of this movie.
Yeah, you're, aren't we a negative Nancy?
That's just a dream you had, man. Yeah. But the big one I want to talk about, one of my favorite horror movies, is Poltergeist. And you recently saw this. No idea what you thought. You haven't said a word to me about it. Something
you told
with the
me
mom
not
being hot.
to.
I think you said something like that. But anyways, I digress. So
the
this
mom,
is the big one.
the wife, the mom was very pretty. I was looking her up because I thought I recognized her from something, and I looked her up, and I don't know what else she's been in.
I suppose the daughter too was. She was killed in real life. Did you know that?
The little girl?
No. Oh, well, both of them died young.
I heard something about that whole movie being cursed.
The older daughter, the one with the black hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was choked by her boyfriend to death.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what's creepy about that movie is at least 2 of them died really young. Both those girls were dead within 2 years of that movie coming out. Or no, the little girl died later. I think she only died
Well, wasn't the same cast in Poltergeist too?
I forget. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
I thought it was the same family. Different director, obviously.
Sequels.
But
so anyways, Poltergeist came out in 1982, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So here's let's hear your thoughts on the movie, man. I just want to see what you think.
It sucked.
You didn't like it? All this time you've been telling me it was good. You didn't like it?
No, it was pretty good.
Okay.
I would, compare it to I didn't think it was as good as
What'd you like?
But I would
like
compare
it. To me, it's about the family in that movie. I like the family dynamic. I thought they nailed.
Let me talk, Matt. Jeez. You asked me the question.
That's true. I know. Okay. So.
Well, you tell me. What did you like about it?
That's exactly. I like the family in that movie. It felt like a real family. I thought they nailed that. And I don't know, lots of other little things in the movie. I just felt like they would do anything to get their daughter back. I thought that was pretty cool. But you said it wasn't scary, which is interesting because I think it's kind of creepy.
I would compare it to something like Gremlins or even Ghostbusters, just the visual aesthetic of it. It's definitely, I wouldn't call it a comedy. There are comical elements. That one scene where the guy was in the bathroom, the paranormal guy, and he was pulling all the flesh off of his face, I was like, oh, I couldn't believe this movie was rated, I think, PG back in the day. I think this was before the PG-13 rating, obviously, but I'm surprised it didn't get an R just for that scene.
That's true. Last Crusade came out, or no,
Temple
of Doom came out a year later?
2 years later.
Oh, okay. So, and that was kind of when it all started with that. Yeah, that scene's kind of creepy with the maggots and the meat that he's eating.
Yeah, the visual effects are definitely
The
really
chairs,
good.
the chairs freaked me out. Remember when she turns around and the chairs are all stacked all fucking weird on the table?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of creepy.
I just thought that the whole movie had this kind of fantasy element that stopped it from being scary to me. It was fun to watch. There was nothing aside from that one scene with the face coming off.
That one got you?
Yeah, I thought that was, but
pretty
that was
creepy.
more gross than scary.
It looks a little fake because you can tell like those aren't his
Well,
real
yeah,
hands.
you could definitely tell it was even the face.
But when you first see it, yeah, it's a pretty freaky scene.
I liked a lot of the ghost effects, especially when they reveal the poltergeist at the end. It looks like, I don't know, some kind of giant limbed spider with a skull on it.
I don't know if that was like the actual poltergeist, was it, or was that? You think that was
I
like
thought
the
so.
head demon? I thought. Remember the big skull that comes out of the doorway when they're at the end of the movie when they're trying to save Carol Ann. Remember, and he's got the rope.
Yeah, I
And
remember
that big
that.
skull just comes out of the door.
I just thought that was a representation of the actual poltergeist because when you see it at the end, it's the full thing. It's
Yeah.
the face, the legs, these giant like tree trunk legs.
It
looks
felt
like a
real
spider.
to me. Like I like these people in the movie. Like they felt like a family. You know, like even I don't know. That just that
I think
helped.
my
that
favorite
helped.
parts. Well, it's hard to talk about the movie as a whole. There are certain scenes that I really liked. One of the scenes I remember from a kid actually is when the neighbor has the same remote as the other family.
Oh yeah,
and they
Turn
keep
it back on.
changing.
Mr.
Right.
Rogers in the football game.
And they're sitting there. They have the shot with both hands trying to click. Yeah,
yeah, and he's like backing up and shooting it like multiple times.
right.
Take it. Have some mercy with that thing, please. All right. So, what else did you like? What scene stood out to you in general?
I
parts did
liked the most iconic stuff is when with the little girl and her her hands up against the TV and talking to the people in the TV. She's the only one that can see them. And then for some reason I remember her getting sucked into the TV, but that's not what happened. She gets sucked into the closet
Yep.
and then she can kind of talk to them through the TV. The mom keeps the TV on the whole time and it's this static channel that nothing is broadcast over. Where she can keep in touch with the daughter, which was funny because they do something very similar in Stranger Things. And then you hear her voice like all over the house. That was kind of creepy, actually, where the little girl's voice like travels.
Where's that one long shot of the mom? Like, remember when she's kind of just outside the bedroom door? It just lingers on her, and she opens the door, and all that noise comes on, and she slams the door. Like, I'm so sorry, you know. She tries to go into the daughter's room, and the door won't let her. You might have to watch it again.
Yeah,
I swear it's in there. I swear.
I'm sure it is.
What about the tree? The tree got me, man. That was kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Because any kid can remember creepy trees outside your window sometimes.
Whenever I
if you're
think
on
of creepy trees, I think of Evil Dead. So
Right.
That's the thing. This movie just seemed like a hodgepodge of other movies I'd seen, even though this one probably did a lot of that stuff first. But like I said, it's got a Ghostbusters vibe to it. It's got an Evil Dead vibe to it. It's a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be why today, at least, it doesn't really resonate with me. Nothing really about it stuck. This was a movie that I probably saw little bits and pieces of as a kid. And like I said, a lot of the stuff, even though I was getting details confused, specific scenes, like I remembered the scene with the ghost. I remembered the Zelda lady coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, she was very memorable.
Yeah. And even she didn't have as much screen time as I remember. When they introduce her, she comes
Yeah,
in kind of
very
real
little.
random during the third act, which is kind of weird. And she's not there very long. One of my other favorite parts is when the mom actually goes in to rescue the daughter, and she has that rope around her, and everything's falling through the portal down in the basement.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, when that big skull comes out of the door. Yeah. And he's like, you haven't done this. And she's like, you're right, you go.
Yeah.
And it was like a portal, right? Yeah. They could go through the door, and then it would come through the ceiling or whatever.
Right,
I think
downstairs.
is what it was. Yep.
Yeah.
What I like, too, is how they captured the ghost going down the stairs. I remember that big, giant light, and when they roll back the tape, you can actually see all the like ghosts coming at them.
Yeah.
And, and she's like so alone, they don't know what's going on. They don't know they're dead.
And there's another movie that I just saw recently. It's not a movie. It's a TV series, Raising Dion, which is a TV series on Netflix that Amanda and I were just watching.
Okay.
And it's about. It's not nothing like this. It's not horror at all. It's about a little 7-year-old kid who has superpowers, but he's able to see things that other people can't see. And he goes out in the rain, and there are these like water people that materialize in the rain, and that reminded me of Poltergeist too. And that's the thing. Again, it goes back to with Poltergeist. Even though a lot of stuff kind of copied it or borrowed from it. I was watching Poltergeist and I was seeing all these other movies in there, so that's why it's interesting that Poltergeist probably started a lot of these trends, at least with like the ghost genre. But watching it today, there's so many of these kinds of movies
that were probably influenced by Poltergeist.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But then you watch Poltergeist and there's so many things, so many types of things. It's like it's not really just a ghost movie. Primarily it is, but then they throw in like
it's like a family drama, really.
Yeah. And the family was very good in this, the dad and everything, the mom, the kids.
Jo Beth Williams, I believe her name is.
Yeah.
And the dad was Craig T. Nelson, who, if I believe, is doing the voice of The Incredibles.
Oh.
Yes. There's random trivia. You ever see the movie The Incredibles?
A long time ago.
Yeah, that's Craig T. Nelson.
Okay.
But I digress.
It was good. It was fine. Amanda actually watched part of it, most of it with me. She came in like during the second act, basically. And the other thing too is Amityville Horror Amityville Horror I think came out before this one actually, but there's a lot of that influence in here, and then of course you've got like The Simpsons Treehouse of Terror.
Oh yeah,
which just copies every movie, and
some of those are pretty funny.
They are, but I mean I've seen
good.
some of those before I saw Poltergeist, and then you watch Poltergeist.
Right, it was kind of like you've already
like,
seen it all.
Yeah, so
that's true.
It's not the movie's fault. The movie is pretty good. And for its time, it was original. The effects are.
I think Spielberg wrote that, didn't he?
I don't know.
But you were
probably. I noticed his name on the credits quite a bit. So
he produced it, story by him, and that was the other thing. Well, we'll get to that part because there's a big, still debated that, and you've seen a lot of Spielberg movies, right? Don't you think that movie had quite a Spielberg touch, like visually?
It did, but I mean, there are a lot of directors that have tried to emulate Spielberg. I mean, J.J. Abrams has been accused of doing that, and I mean, I guess we'll never know. No one will, the only people who would know were the people who were there. But
you wonder how much control he was really having throughout that movie, because I heard he was there like every day.
82. I mean, I don't know
with the setups
because Spielberg was busy directing his own stuff.
E.T.
pretty much every year. E.T., Close Encounters, Raiders, and Indiana Jones all came out.
Well, he couldn't direct two movies in the same year. That was the problem. He was doing E.T. So, in his clause, he couldn't direct Poltergeist.
my guess is that he probably had a lot of influence on the casting. He might have directed a couple of scenes in here, but that's my thing is he had a big hand in the behind-the-scenes stuff, but I'm going to say it's still Tobe Hooper's movie.
I can just see similarities, though. There's a lot of Spielberg shots. And you're right, maybe it was just Tobe trying to be Spielberg, but it's hard not to think that Spielberg set those shots up because a lot of it has his visual flair. You can see it throughout Poltergeist. You've seen about as much Spielberg as I have, probably. I can't think of specifically which ones, but there's just certain scenes that just ring about Spielberg.
It's hard to say. See, I don't really think Spielberg. You're going to probably disagree with me here.
Oh, here we go.
I don't think
this is when the podcast gets good.
Yeah, I don't really think Spielberg has a distinct visual style. I think there are a lot of things that are Spielberg-esque that you see in certain Spielberg movies, but it's not like. I don't think he has a certain visual style.
All right, you're right. That's what I'm kind of trying to say.
Whenever there's kids and families, there are certain Spielberg things, but they're not just specific to Spielberg. But I see what you mean. A lot of people will look at something like Stranger Things or Super 8 or something like that, Goonies, which Spielberg also, the Goonies looks very much like a Spielberg movie, but Richard Donner actually directed that film, and everybody on that set pretty much says that Donner directed that film, but Spielberg being the producer is very it seems like he's very hands-on with his projects, more so than fucking like Michael Bay or any of these guys that just
it was his story. One, it was supposed to be like a dark sequel to Close Encounters, and he wrote it, which he did, him and two other people. So, I mean, that away, that was a movie he wanted to do. But he couldn't direct it because he was doing E.T., so. But and it sucks too because Toby Hooper passed away too recently.
Yeah.
So there's another secret. And it doesn't matter. The fact is that the movie is really good, and I think the movie actually excels in the last 15 minutes.
And that was kind of the argument with not to change subjects, but with AI. When that movie came out, we were always debating, well, what parts did Kubrick direct and what parts did Spielberg direct? And again, I think Spielberg directed the whole thing. Kubrick just couldn't do it. But there are certain Kubrick influences in that movie. And, just like in this movie, there's a ton of Spielberg influence because Spielberg influenced a lot of these filmmakers and taught a lot of them, mentored a lot of these filmmakers.
That's
so
true,
they looked up to him. And, when you're working on it, Back to the Future has a lot of Spielbergisms too. But that was obviously a Zemeckis.
And you're right, no, not really visual style. You're right, more Spielberg-esque is the way. You're right. And
there's an argument that with Return of the Jedi, George Lucas
he actually directed it. Yeah,
I part of that movie.
I believe it. Wouldn't be surprised.
And some directors also just have. They don't have the background in like the visual effects. So sometimes, like I know with going back to Jedi, Richard Marquand, Lucas hired him because he knew how to deal with characters and stuff. Same with Irvin Kershner with Empire. But Richard Marquand did not have an effects background. So Lucas had to be on the set a little more to guide him through that so that he could focus on the acting and all the action
You'd
set
like
pieces.
to think Lucas directed that movie. You'd like to think that. It's kind of nice to think
it's hard
that
to say,
did.
and you're right. Who's to say in what capacity, is a director more than just directing the actors, So anyway, back to Poltergeist.
And like you said, you feel like it ends, and you're like, okay, it's over, it's clean. And then it kicks your ass with the last, 15 minutes, when they stay another night at the house.
Well, that is something that is very Spielbergian, is that Spielberg tends to not know how to end his movies sometimes.
Yes, he does.
No.
Leave my man alone. Are you saying Spielberg's movies don't have good endings?
Not all of them. The 80s
Give
ones.
me one. Which Spielberg movie had a shitty ending?
Minority Report.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's one. Give me two.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Okay, well that was Lucas's thing. Didn't Spielberg say
Blame
that?
it all on Lucas.
He did. He kind of threw Lucas under the bus, I think, if I remember right. He's like, I just direct these things. Okay, well that's fair. That's two. That's it though.
No, I'm just saying.
There's probably more.
No, the Poltergeist. The only reason why the ending threw me off, there's a moment where you think the movie's going to end, and as it's about to end, when the lady's like, "Yeah, your house is clean," I was like, "Well, wait, I remember all this stuff with the big ghost that comes out at the end, and then all of a sudden
she gets dragged up the wall."
Yeah. Oh my God, I saw that. I'm like, Nightmare on Elm Street.
On Elm Street,
definitely
which came out a few years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, like trying to pull up her shirt. Remember that?
Yeah.
Nice
even Amanda was like, "Oh, that's where Nightmare got it from." I'm like, "Yeah,
maybe." Yeah, and it's creepy because I guess the real estate agent, he didn't move the, what does he call? He says you didn't move the headstones or something like that.
Yeah.
So their house was literally on a graveyard, which is really creepy.
On an Indian burial ground, which again is another trope of horror movies.
What a great idea.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There are a lot of movies that followed in this. Did you ever see the movie House? It was, I think,
Steve Miner and
Sean Cunningham.
I tried watching it. It was like,
it's not bad. It's very much the same.
But I recognized
tone.
Miner and Cunningham. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like Friday the 13th, like,
Well,
revisited.
Steve Miner was basically a protege of Sean Cunningham, but
he did 2 and 3, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Halloween H2O.
Did he?
Yep.
Steve Miner?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Well, now I know. Here at Schmuckast, we learn something every day. We really do. But you like Joe Beth Williams, you were saying, was your standout?
I thought she was pretty, and I thought she was the one
acted,
that
yeah.
She was the one that carried the film.
I love that scene though when Caroline kind of like goes through her. Remember that when she goes, she went right through me, and they start crying together and stuff.
In the bathtub.
You got to rewatch this movie. Apparently, I swear there's a scene. When
I'm
they're
sure
calling for
there
her,
is.
And then she feels the wind go through her.
I gotta watch the
Okay,
movie
I guess
again.
so.
I guess.
You know that part? No. I guess it wasn't very memorable, and you can't forget
nothing about the movie really stuck with me.
That's
but
fine.
It's look. I only technically just saw it once last week.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did.
It's a fun movie.
Man.
It's kind of like The Goonies. How you were saying you have a hard time sitting, trying to get into The Goonies.
I don't know what it is.
It's overhyped. These movies are overhyped, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these films at all. It's just they're. Sometimes
it's
they're
just weird because I know Goonies is so popular, and I'm trying. I don't know what it is.
The Goonies is just a product of the times, and it's some people are very there are some things that are from a certain time period that are a product of the times, but people I think tend to hold on to them because they're nostalgia. And there are other movies that really do age very well, like Star Wars and some other movies that I feel are timeless, that aren't really, they go beyond just the time period they were made in.
Like the Phantom Menace, you mean, or
any Star Wars? Shut up. Whatever.
Misa!
The first three.
Misa in 2019!
Oh my God. Fuck
Misa
off.
in 2019! I'm timeless. I'm Jojo's.
Stop it.
Okay, we're not going to go
You might make Ahmed Best commit suicide.
Yeah. And I think Goonies is a Spielberg story, isn't it?
I don't know.
So it kind of hurts me to not like it. No, I think he did write it. I know Chris Columbus, I think, directed it. I forget.
Richard Donner.
Oh, sorry. We were saying. Chris Columbus. Whatever. Fuck it. I think it was a story by Spielberg, so I'm sorry, Steven. It hurts me to say. I didn't like it.
Did you see the whole thing?
I couldn't get over the fucking kids yelling and screaming. It annoyed me, so I turned the movie off.
Well, you didn't like Temple of Doom because of the...
Indy!
Well, that's the same kid in the Goonies.
Yes, it is. It did not go unnoticed. I go, that little fucker ruined Indiana Jones. I'm just joking. I digress.
I loved him in that movie. I loved Temple of Doom.
Come on. He was kind of annoying maybe a little.
I liked him. I'm sorry. I think he was written that way intentionally.
Indy. Oh, man. Well, that's great. Well, anything else? I guess it covers Poltergeist. So I mean, what would you give it on a Schmuckast?
Oh my God, I'm not rating it. I don't like rating.
I think it's a fun horror thrill ride. I think the acting and the family atmosphere. That's what keeps the movie together. If anything, if that was any actors thrown together, you know what I mean, it wouldn't be as effective. But because they feel like real people, I think that helps so much. You know, like the poor bird dying.
I really got to rewatch this movie.
You don't remember the bird dying in the beginning?
Oh, yes, I do. And she buries...
Oh, sweetie, shit. Why couldn't you wait till school?
Yep, I remember that, where they bury the bird. Yeah.
This is one for when he sleeps. I'm like, oh, that's so cute, though.
That is
Can I have
cute.
a goldfish? But, you know what I mean? Yeah, the movie probably wouldn't have been as effective with lesser actors or, there's no family. You know, you kind of care about these people. They did a good job of conveying 80s life.
It is really weird to see what Tobe Hooper has directed before that and since. It doesn't feel like a Tobe Hooper movie. I guess if you watch his filmography, all of his movies are very different.
I haven't seen any of his. I think of his. I don't think besides Texas Chainsaw. Did he do the second one or no?
He did.
Okay.
Yeah, which is drastically different from Poltergeist or Texas Chainsaw 1. It's just a whole different thing, really. It's like a Romero movie almost.
It's hard not to count that as a Spielberg movie. It just feels like one. And to know he was so heavily... I mean, by all accounts, he was there every day. So,
well,
I mean,
maybe...
That's up to anyone else to decide.
Maybe, because Spielberg's got quite a large body of work in the production realm, too. So maybe anyone that he produces can be his,
What a balancing act doing E.T. and Poltergeist in the same year. That's crazy.
He did Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year,
It's amazing.
So.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's something. I think I've seen every movie of his I want to see. I can't think of one. AI, I guess. Would you recommend AI?
I would. I don't know.
That's probably my next one.
AI, I don't think has really aged that well. I don't know. It's one of those things that I'd have to re-examine. I used to really like the movie. But then seeing it, repeat viewings, I don't think it really holds up as well. But I don't know. It's a cool movie because that's one that feels like you go on a journey.
Yeah. I don't see myself watching 1941 or whatever it was called.
Oh, that sucked.
Oh, did it? I heard it was really bad.
Yeah, I didn't really care for that or The Color Purple. I didn't really care for that one either.
I heard it's a hard movie to watch. It's all about rape and
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not. There are some periods where it seems like whenever he tries to tackle real historical stuff, he can do historical fiction like Indiana Jones.
List,
yeah. Well, that's not historical fiction, really.
No,
you're
right.
is.
I'm sorry, you're right. Let's not go into that. I'm sorry.
No, but the other one that I was kind of iffy on was Lincoln.
Oh, okay.
Which I would like to see now because after I saw that movie, I actually did quite a bit of research on Lincoln in college. And so I'd like to watch Lincoln again.
He was the best president, pretty much. I mean,
as far as
it's hard to pick him. Yeah, it's hard to pick over him.
But I didn't care for it when I saw it the first time. Tommy Lee Jones is in that one.
Mm-hmm. Great actor.
But
Two-Face. I just remember him as Two-Face.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
What's wrong with that?
Why do you bring up Two-Face in this?
Come on, he was great. Why don't you just die?
Just end the podcast now.
Okay, so we have a few other things. Are we going to go on to the next subject? Okay, so Martin Scorsese, right? Pretty popular director, you'd say. He's up there. Well, I've seen maybe 8 of his movies.
I haven't seen very many.
I've seen about 8, so he's up there for me with filmmakers.
Is it Scorsese or Scorsese? Because I've heard it both.
Martin Scorsese.
Okay.
Whatever. He's all right. So anyways, he said Marvel movies, he said, what was it he said? They're like carnival rides and that they're not real cinema. And I thought that was an interesting thing to say. And now there's all this uproar, and he was just asked if he liked them, and he said they're not like real movies. They're like carnival rides. What do you think?
I see what he's getting at for sure. It's definitely something that can be debated. I kind of look at there's a little bit of cinema snob in that statement too, because that's just like saying you're not a real filmmaker unless you shoot on film.
Yeah,
that's true. Which is.
But I think his main gripe was like there's no emotions, there's no. Like what you would think of as a movie as people going through a day in their lives.
I mean, what would you describe as cinema? Is
true.
Is cinema like just anything that's not mainstream? I mean, there's this big kind of fuss now about, Hollywood just knows how to make remakes and reboots and superhero movies like Lester on Grand Theft Auto 5. That's how Hollywood makes now. And
they did say that.
And then I think it was Edward Norton who was like, if you really want to look for good movies, stop looking for the big Hollywood blockbusters. Go check out the movies that are actually getting the Academy Awards, the smaller films that are playing at the smaller venues. And that's kind of interesting too, but those are the movies that typically are not really that profitable because the mainstream audiences don't care about cinema. They don't understand cinema. They just want to be entertained. And right now, I mean, I hate that there are 26 Marvel films in 10 years, I just think it's kind of annoying. Even though most of these movies are successful, I mean, and it's unfair to me to even say, are you really going to watch these movies down the road? Because the loyal Marvel fans talk about these movies all the time. And they buy the box sets, they buy the DVDs and the Blu-rays, they watch them over and over again. Whenever a new one comes out, they go back to the other 30 beforehand and watch them and discuss them and rank them and all this other stuff. And I really like what Marvel has done, but I also see where Scorsese is coming from. They are just kind of popcorn cinema.
It might have been better for him just to say I didn't like it. You know what I mean? He could have just said I just didn't care for him.
But he didn't say that either.
It's kind of what he's saying. But when you say they're not cinema, it's like kind of attacking the people that love them. And
no, all he's really saying is that they're the dessert without the main course.
Right. That's fair.
And that's how I feel when I go see them. They're fun movies.
They're well acted, that's fine.
Yeah, the visual effects are usually pretty good. Yeah. But, there's no longevity to them, and they're going to keep making them because each movie makes billions of dollars.
It's kind of like an emptiness to them almost. Like
there's
just
definitely.
no emotion, and doesn't really satisfy. You're just feeling like, okay, cool. That was cool for 2 hours. But you don't go home thinking about it for, days on end.
I would argue that maybe, like, the last couple of Avengers movies have a certain weight to them.
Yeah.
But, again, you had, like, 24 movies before them that kind of added up to that, that led up to that. Whereas back in the day when superhero movies weren't that common, one superhero movie like Tim Burton's Batman, not that that movie was necessarily moving, but that felt like a film to me. It was very interesting how that was done. And the Marvel movies today there's new directors for every one of these movies, and they all feel the same.
That's a good point, though. When you look back at like the older superhero movies, like Batman and even Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, in a sense, those movies were good.
I would probably. This is going to sound bad.
Here we go.
But
the tragedy with Sam Raimi is
no. I would rather watch Batman and Robin than watch most of the Marvel movies.
Oh God.
Yeah, because at least Batman and Robin.
At least it's funny.
Yeah, it's that bad.
Is that it's funny? It's like a comedy.
There's something about it to talk about. Whereas most of the Marvel, even the ones I like I really legitimately love Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't talk much about that movie because it's just Star Wars.
You'd rather watch Batman and Robin over Iron Man? The first Iron Man's a great movie.
I wouldn't say it's a great movie. I would say
you said it's not from your favorites. You're right. You did say that.
I'd say I would rather watch Batman and Robin than 90% of the Marvel movies.
That's like a nice little game we could play. The game is called I Would Rather Watch Batman and Robin Than.
I like that
games.
Game. That's next week on Schmuckast.
Actually, I'd rather watch Batman versus Robin. That's like a perfect. And then Batman Forever.
Well, Batman Forever. I mean, I could take it or leave it. I don't really have that much of a problem with it. It's just the more that you pointed out, like Tommy Lee Jones and that, I'm like, oh, fuck that movie.
It's very campy. It goes for the humor more than anything. I guess maybe.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting because when you look at like Batman Forever, it seems like Joel Schumacher wanted to do the campy Batman all along, but with Batman Forever, it was kind of he had one foot in the Tim Burton realm and the other foot in the campy realm.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think when you look at the Tim Burton ones and then you go to Batman Forever, at the time it came out, I appreciated it for being different. I didn't realize how campy it was until I went back and saw. Because first of all, you got to remember, this was the time when Jim Carrey was still extremely popular, coming off of The Mask and Ace Ventura, and seeing Tommy Lee Jones kind of bounce off of Ace Ventura, because Tommy Lee Jones typically does real serious roles.
Yeah, this one he was. Yeah, it's weird
even in Men in Black,
movie.
he's the straight man usually.
Right.
So to see him do this was kind of weird, and I appreciated that. But then it was like with Batman and Robin, he was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to make a campy film. And that's what he was trying to do, and it didn't sit well, but that's really what he's trying to do with Batman and Robin.
I think I like Forever better than Returns. I don't like Batman Returns. That's another movie that I just cannot get into.
You know, I
don't know what it is.
At one point, I agreed with you, and I haven't seen Returns in a while. I didn't like it when it first came out either, but a lot of people over the years have said that that's a really good one, so I'd have to go back.
Figure.
I didn't like it when it first came out. I thought it was okay. I definitely thought it was inferior to the original.
So what was your first exposure to Bruce Wayne, Batman? Like, has Batman been in your life pretty much all as long as you can remember?
I knew who Batman was just from, like, coloring books and stuff, but my very first exposure to actually sitting down and watching Batman was the Tim Burton one.
Oh, was it? Oh, that's
and
pretty cool.
I remember, first of all, when I watched that movie the first time, I didn't realize that Bruce Wayne and Batman were the same person because, well, aside from the very end when Michael Keaton comes out and reveals himself to Kim Basinger who he is, by accident really, because she stumbles into the Batcave, aside from that scene, the movie never actually shows Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. It always shows them separately.
Well, that's true. I guess that's
so
true.
As a kid, I was confused about that. My mom had to explain it to me, and I'm like, because Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton in that movie is kind of boring for a lot of it. He doesn't do anything. He walks around a lot.
Yeah,
and
Bruce Wayne.
I always thought that his story was the separate story, and Batman was just the guy that would drop in and kind of make the story more interesting.
I can see why a kid wouldn't
so
make that
when
connection.
my mom explained it to me, I'm like, that's not Bruce Wayne isn't Batman, Mom. What are you talking about? And because I didn't understand the storyline when I was that young. And then my mom tried showing me the Adam West Batman, which today is very popular with people our age. But when I was a kid and I saw the Tim Burton Batman, and then my mom started showing me some of the Adam West stuff on Nick at Night or something.
Adam West, yeah.
I was like, that's not Batman. Fuck that.
Bam! Pow!
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is that?
Come on, Robin, let's save the government.
Because there was something very cool. I mean, I was one of those kids that had it in the back of my head, like the bat symbol shaved in the back of my head, which is
that
big.
with the shark repellent? Was it the shark repellent in the old movie?
In the Adam West one?
Yeah, when the shark like bites his leg off.
But I'm just talking about the TV series.
Yeah.
The movie was based off the TV series, which
because I remember the movie. I remember the movie watching that. Cesar Romero
but and that was the other thing. My mom would tell me about like it was funny. My mom knew more about Batman than I did because she would tell me about Robin and I was like, well, how come he doesn't have a sidekick in the Tim Burton? Because that was the only Batman movie that I knew of was that Batman and Robin hadn't been out yet. So that was the other surprise when Batman Forever came out and they finally brought in Robin. I was really kind of interested in that.
Yeah.
But
then there was Batgirl, which we won't get into.
Fuck.
Please don't get into.
No, but yeah, and like I said, Batman, it was really not a kid's movie because the Joker, that scene where Jack Nicholson burns up the guy, turns him into a skeleton, that looks like Antoine got a little hot under the collar. That scared me.
In the old town tonight.
And it's funny, I can watch Jason and Freddy movies no problem, but
That's
something
true.
about Batman, that one scene with the Joker, really scared me.
Or even like when he looks at his reflection in the mirror and like he's laughing at the dentist office.
I'm glad you're dead.
Yeah, a lot of that's kind of creepy. Yeah, that's true.
But there's something about that first movie that just stuck with me, and of course, now that I'm older, I really appreciate the hell out of that movie. It's just done very artistically.
One of Nicholson's best, easily. Definitely.
Yeah, probably.
He nailed the Joker. I mean, it's like he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, Forever is okay, right? Or
It's been a while since I've seen it. I would say the weakest elements of that movie are the more serious aspects. Val Kilmer, who was not bad, but there is something. Michael Keaton can just carry himself better, I think, than Val Kilmer does. I don't know, something about Val Kilmer's performance doesn't really stand out.
He made a decent Batman, I guess.
He was maybe, I don't know.
Whereas Michael Keaton nailed both perfect.
Yeah.
Like Christian Bale, I don't really like him as much as Batman, but I think he's a pretty good Bruce Wayne.
I'm Batman.
I can't do that, Gordon. But he's a good Bruce Wayne,
Where are you taking the hostages?
Can you trust him? I said, can you trust him? Are you still kind of half and half on Nolan's trilogy? What are your thoughts on that? Anything good?
I
love The Dark Knight now.
Not too long ago, I saw Dark Knight Rises, and I can see why people didn't really like that one too much. I never said I disliked the Christopher Nolan movies. I just feel, first of all, I'm just curious why that movie to me is still recent. It's a 10-year-old movie, which I can't believe that movie's been out 11 years. No, The Dark Knight.
Okay. Oh, The Dark Knight.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe that movie's been out 11 years.
Oh my God.
11 years. Came out in 2008, right? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you're right.
And for a movie that is still relatively recent, for people to be like, that's the best comic book movie, that's the best Batman movie. Christopher Nolan's movies, especially those, have a lot of dialogue, and they self-analyze things to death rather than letting the audience kind of figure out what you meant with a simple camera shot. You have your actors describing what they're feeling and describing the themes, verbalizing everything. That's one thing I didn't like about them, and I really liked how they did Batman's origin story in Batman Begins. I thought that was actually one of the few origin stories that was interesting. But the Scarecrow and the Liam Neeson character, the Ra's al Ghul characters, were kind of weak, which is why I think Batman Begins kind of gets forgotten and overshadowed by Dark Knight. Dark Knight became very popular because of Heath Ledger. And my argument has been, okay, Heath Ledger really carries that movie. But the other elements around Heath Ledger, it's like I just want Heath Ledger to come back on screen. When he's not there, the movie kind of drags a little bit. Yeah. I'm not saying there's anything terrible about those movies, but they are just kind of these dark, gritty crime dramas with Batman in them. They took this comic book idea and set it in a realistic setting. Fine, and I thought a lot of that stuff worked. I really like The Dark Knight. I don't think it's my favorite. And that's the thing. There were certain things about the Tim Burton one that I really liked as a kid, even though Jack Nicholson scared the piss out of me. I could tell you, as a kid, if Dark Knight was the Batman movie that came out as a kid, it would have bored the crap out of me.
Yeah.
There's not enough there to really tide me over.
Is Dark Knight your favorite of the trilogy, though?
Yeah, probably. Okay. Probably, for sure.
It's been a while since you've seen it?
Yeah,
a long time.
Yeah, and some of the action scenes in that movie are great. I thought the action scenes in the highway,
the
under
really the
good.
bridge highway scene with the trucks and the grenade launchers, and that was sweet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And again, I
loved.
It's
shot really well. It has such a cool look to it.
Yeah, it does. And I really actually, even though it's not as memorable as the Danny Elfman score, I like the music in those movies.
Great music.
I listen to the Hans Zimmer soundtrack a lot, even though it's kind of the same themes over and over again. At least the first two Batmans in the Christopher Nolan trilogy are probably better than any Marvel movie for the most part, for sure. So there's a lot to be said about them.
And they're better than the Batman sequels, at least. But you definitely would. The original Tim Burton one is the one that would match up against them, definitely.
Yeah.
And you grew up with Batman. That's the thing, though. And I grew up with it too. That movie. So it's like you do gravitate towards it. Just pure nostalgia.
And what's kind of nice. What's kind of nice for me too is I have an interest in comic books, but I don't read them a ton. I'm not an expert at them, and I really don't read a lot of the DC and Marvel stuff. I've read a couple of Batman and Superman, and that's it. So I don't know what storylines they use in the movie. I've actually heard that the Tim Burton one is really not a very faithful adaptation of any of the comics. I don't think the Joker actually killed Bruce Wayne's parents.
Yeah, I know that was a pretty brazen move.
So I don't know, and that's what's kind of nice about it is I'm not tied down by the comic books. So I'm just looking at it as, can I follow this movie? Is there something about this movie that's captivating?
Entertainment is a big thing with movies. Yeah, we all want to be entertained, but I also want to feel something. The best movies to me are when you have emotions brought out in you, like Schindler's List brings out emotions in you. That's a movie you don't ever forget. these Marvel movies, they're great in the moment, but the next day you're already half forgotten them. It's like those.
Well, these
hard to
Marvel
explain, but
movies
it's like
are, and I'm not the first one to say this. They're basically it's a
Commercials?
theatrical. No, they're a theatrical television series.
Yeah.
They really, I
It
mean,
is, pretty
television
much.
has reached the point now where, I mean, the effects and the budgets in these and TV has matched film for the most part. I mean, Game of Thrones is probably the golden standard, but these Marvel movies are not doing anything. I'm not talking about the ending, for God's sakes, Matt. I'm just talking about the series as a whole.
Okay.
But all I'm saying is these Marvel movies aren't doing anything really differently than any TV series is right now. Even the visual effects, I feel should be better than what they're doing in the Marvel movies because they churn out 2 or 3 a year. It's just it's a machine.
What's your top 3 Marvel movies? Go.
Oh,
Iron Man.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, okay, good
and-
choice. Endgame or Infinity War.
No, not really. That's a tricky one. The third one.
Iron Man. That's a solid movie.
I don't know if it'd be my top maybe top 5. Oh, maybe.
Solid. That's a solid movie.
Yeah,
Not
I
the
like.
sequels.
Probably Civil War.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Civil War, Winter Soldier, and probably the first Iron Man. Top 5.
There you go. That runs it. Yeah, Ragnarok was a great movie.
I love
That was
Thor
a lot of fun.
Ragnarok. I did, and that's a fun movie. That's what I remembered. Probably, and it's a shame, really. This is not a Marvel movie. It's a Sony movie, technically. But one of my favorite comic book movies, believe it or not, is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I know. We should watch that next.
Oh,
I've been meaning to see that movie. I hear
I
nothing
saw-
but great things about it.
I saw that movie, and as soon as it finished, I was like, every comic book movie ever needs to be like this movie. And that's a movie that no one fucking talks about because it's not more
From
Marvel,
the animation
technically.
to the music to the story it tells, I've heard it's just not. I gotta see it.
The animation is fantastic, but the movie has like 3 or 4 villains. I think what's interesting is it takes place in a parallel universe. So, like, minor spoiler, Doc Ock is a woman in this one.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that.
Makes sense.
Not that it matters, but
He has a
dealing.
vagina.
Yeah, I guess I didn't look
You
under.
didn't lift up the skirt.
Right. Exactly. Stole my thunder.
Anyways.
But yeah, and dealing with like 5 or 6 different Spider characters, like Spider-Gwen, Spider-Pig, Neo, Noir Spider-Man.
It's like Spider-Man 3 when there's like 5 villains.
But they balance it very well.
Yeah.
And because of the way it's animated, it's really fun. I mean, there's something about just why do all of these things have to be live action? It was kind of novel to have a live action comic book movie in the 90s when they were trying them out. But why aren't we seeing more? Make it like a comic book movie. A comic book is essentially a still cartoon. Make it animated. Make more of these.
Mario Brothers is a good example. That could have been animated. That should have been. Why a live action? It just doesn't work.
Well, you got to remember when that came out, CGI. I mean, the first full animated movie was, I think, Toy Story, and that was '95.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So that's probably why.
Legend of Zelda should have a movie. That should be animated. That would be sweet.
Should be. And
That would be sweet,
And
dude.
so should Sonic, but
A
these
Link to-
studios
Oh,
just
God,
don't listen to
Sonic.
us.
Meow. I still think that trailer was a joke. I was like, this has got to be a joke. Then you realize it's the real trailer. It's just
The
that's
whole movie
unbelievable.
is a joke. Sega doesn't care.
God, I hope it bombs so bad.
It will.
Go see Sonic tanking at a theater near you.
That movie will
Free
derail
coupons.
so quickly.
That's gonna have a coupon day. Come see it for $1. You get a free taco.
I don't know who they're marketing for that movie either.
I don't know. Retards.
Even my kids were like, "Fuck that."
It
looks
looks
terrible.
so stupid. Oh, look, I took 1,500 steps today. That's so dumb. How they get Jim Carrey in that mess? Did you like Jim Carrey as the Riddler? I thought he was all right.
Not like today. Like going back, I'm like, God, he's ridiculous. I had a problem with Jim Carrey in the '90s anyway. I liked Ace Ventura, but after that,
That's pretty funny.
I loved Ace Ventura.
You've got to see Liar Liar. How many times have I told you? It's such
I
a
think
funny
I've
movie.
seen it. I'm pretty
It's
sure
so
I've seen
funny.
it. But that's the thing, though. It's like after Ace Ventura, he kept doing the same. It's kind of like what Adam Sandler gets his
Well, you
ass
weren't a big
kicked
fan
for.
of Dumb and Dumber, right?
No, not really.
I know he gets a lot of credit for that movie too. So
But he does, and there are parts about that movie that I find
Truman
really
Show
funny.
I thought was good too.
But like I said, Ace Ventura, there was a period of time where he was just doing the same character
Right,
over
talking
and
out of
over
his rear.
again. Yeah, and it just, I even as a kid, by the time I saw Batman Forever, it worked for Batman because I was so used to seeing the Tim Burton stuff that seeing that take on a character in Batman was interesting. But you look at him in that, and you look at
Edward Nigma, right?
Edward, yeah, Enigma.
Enigma.
Yeah. Now what
Too
I
many
do
questions,
what I
Mr.
do
Wayne.
really like that I got into recently,
Yeah.
I still haven't finished it. I'm trying to, but I
The book?
No. The Batman animated series. I bought the complete set on Blu-ray last October, and I'm still trying to. They're very good. It's just there's like 80 episodes or something like that. So I've watched like the first 30, and I really, really like that show because that captures the Tim Burton. Like if Tim Burton had gone on and made like Batmans with all the villains and stuff, this is what it would be like, and it's done really well. I mean, you can tell it's made for kids, but it's still dark enough to get like adults and interested too. And it's got the music by Danny Elfman.
I've heard a lot about The Killing Joke. Is that true?
It's one of the DC animated movies.
It's supposed to be like based on a lot of the things.
Yeah, well, there's an actual graphic novel, I believe.
Oh, okay.
That one is it's the movie that came out is rated R. Apparently, because Joker like literally like murders people. Like
we did have
people.
Batman news, right? Robert Pattinson's gonna be Batman. That was the big news.
Yeah.
But, is he gonna sparkle like he did in Twilight? Hey, more power to him. I mean, I'm sure.
I'm not.
Sure, he's a
I'm
nice
not,
guy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna judge.
Sure he's a nice guy.
I'm not gonna judge because if he's directed well and he finds a different a way to be.
He has the look. I'll give him that.
I'm really sick of them rebooting Batman over and over
reboot it again? Like Spider-Man, didn't they like reboot that story like 5 times? It was so annoying. Let's tell the same origin story again. Fuck me. So annoying.
And what else are you gonna? How else can you tell an origin story? I would have liked to kind of see the standalone Batman movie with Ben Affleck. I thought that not directed by Zack Snyder.
No, fuck that guy.
I don't want to see any more versus movies. I want to see like a good.
What was it? I saw Man of Steel. God, that was awful. Man of Steel?
Yeah, the one that came out
Was
before.
that Zack Snyder? Oh,
yeah.
God. Hold the shot for 2 seconds, please, next time.
Yeah.
It's just constant cutting, and I couldn't tell what was going on. I'm like, oh, this is just so, I don't know.
It's a hack job. Yeah.
It's a hack job. Anything you're looking for? Oh, by the way, I still have not seen it, too. And I still haven't seen it.
I posted a review for
My manager's like, it sucked. She goes, I hated it. But, I don't,
Did she like the first one? I mean,
yeah, but she said this one just was not that good. The way they kill the clown is stupid and wasn't that scary, It seems with it, like, you saw the miniseries, right?
Yeah.
It just seems like the adult section just suffers more than the kids. Like, the kid part always seems to work better.
Well, the more I looked at it, the more I realized, even though they come back as adults, it's the same movie. It's even in the book, it's the same thing. It's
you get
Pennywise,
scared, then you're gonna get scared, then you're gonna get scared.
Yeah, it's the same exact thing. It's Pennywise trying to kill all the adults now. This, they all still see him as their worst fears and whatever, and they go after him in the cave again or whatever, and blah blah blah. Basically, the second movie is a lot funnier than the first one. There are some decent jump scares, but it's like whenever they build up to something and then they actually reveal you what it is, it turns out to be like something you would see from Evil Dead 2. It's like you don't know whether to be like, okay, so you remember in the trailer where they have the whole scene where it's Beverly and the old woman and she's making her coffee. Yeah, and then you find out gradually in that trailer that the old woman is Pennywise, but they don't actually show you what she looks like. So in the film, when you finally see that scene and they reveal what the old lady looks like, it looks like the fucking hag from like Evil Dead 2. It's that insane looking. Like,
it doesn't look that good. It's not scary.
It depends. It's really hard to say because it's freaky, but in a real goofy way. It's like Henrietta in Evil Dead 2. Like, it's scary, but it's also kind of goofy because it's a fucking puppet. That's what a lot of the stuff in it too. I appreciated that because I like Sam Raimi's stuff. Not that this was directed by Sam Raimi, but it had a very Sam Raimi-ish vibe.
Dragging Me to Hell, did you like that?
Yeah, that was all right.
I thought it was pretty good.
But I mean, I'm just saying with it, the characters, the cast was phenomenal.
Yeah, spot on cast.
I liked the editing in this. There were some jump scares. There's one scene in a House of Mirrors that's really good. The only thing that I thought was there are a couple of things I didn't like. And I don't think I'm spoiling anything because you've read the book.
The homosexual. Sorry. Oh no, he doesn't. He kill a gay guy. I'm sorry. That was
He does.
The homosexual.
My only problem with that scene is that there's no follow-up to that scene. It feels like they just did that scene because
It feels forced.
It was in the book, so we have to put it on the screen, but they don't do anything with it.
I heard the girl under the bleachers was pretty scary.
Yeah, that was one of the better jump scares. The Henry Bowers. Actually, I just read that part in the book, and the same thing happened.
Still reading this book?
Yeah, I read a few pages yesterday.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And they just killed off Henry Bowers, and it's like it's so anticlimactic.
Doesn't he attacks one of them in the hotel, right? If I
Yeah.
remember right.
Well, he Pennywise
Eddie,
Pennywise in the book gives him a list of where all the characters are staying, and they're all staying on a different floor of this like hotel. So he goes to the very top to confront Stan first, and Stan like stabs him with a bottle, and he dies right there. I mean, that's how it ends. There's no, and then in the book, it seems like Beverly's husband and Bill's wife are supposed to come to Derry.
Cut out, yeah.
They're supposed to come to Derry to look for their significant others, and in the movie, they show the scene where Bev's husband like beats the shit out of her. But then that's it. It's like if you're not going to follow up with that, why would you
follow
even
her into Derry or
no,
anything?
nothing.
Oh yeah, that's kind of weird.
So yeah, that was kind of weird. Even if you haven't read the book, it'd be like, well, where are you going with this scene?
You got to finish this book, man.
I'm working on it.
You're almost there, right? How many pages? 100?
150.
Oh, okay. You can
but
do
it's
it.
just not. It's not good. Like,
Did they fuck Beverly yet?
No. I read that scene. It's gross.
You've already read it?
I've read
Did
parts
you skip
of it.
ahead just to read the orgy?
Yeah. Well, because everybody was talking about it. I'm like, really?
Were you really looking for the orgy? Man, I wish I had been there for that. You're just leaving through the book. Where is this orgy?
It's so stupid.
Well, no, it was like they're coming together as kids. Like it was like
Why did they got to gang rape a 12-year-old girl?
It wasn't rape. It was consensual. It was like they're
not
bonding.
when she's 12.
They were bonding and
with their penises inside of her.
Yeah, Pennywise doesn't like balls. So I don't know.
Matt,
I don't. Even Stephen King doesn't know why he did that.
Because he was on drugs. He stated himself that he was pretty much drugged out of his ass when he wrote that book.
Fair enough. I still have to see the movie. I'll
a
probably
bunch
wait
of
for
kids
DVD.
and coming of age and fuck it, clown.
I'll wait for. I'll wait for DVD. I'll wait. I'm not gonna just go see it now.
I mean,
it's too late.
if you like the first movie, I don't see why you wouldn't like the second movie. It's not as good as the first.
It seems way too long, though. It seems way too long.
Well, that's the other thing is it's a 3-hour movie. I didn't feel like it didn't feel like 3 hours to me because a lot of stuff happens very quickly. There's a scene with Paul Bunyan, the statue. That's really cool.
Richie?
Yeah. So a lot of those scares are cool. They just happen too quickly. But then the whole last hour is them going after Pennywise. And that it's like this last hour could have been like 20 minutes, honestly.
Yeah.
And I can see what people are saying when they finally reveal how they kill Pennywise. It looks kind of weird.
They called him names.
And dumb, pretty much. Yeah, it's anticlimactic. I can't argue that fact. But
well, King's another person that's been known not to have very good endings to his works.
Well,
I think they make fun of that in the movie.
Stephen King's in the movies talking, like, ripping on himself.
My God. Yeah, he's well known to not very much end his stories very well. And it's hard to do, man. I used to write a lot, and I remember struggling with endings. It was hard. How do you create a satisfying conclusion, you know? It can be very hard to do. Like how do you kill Jason in the next Friday the 13th? How would you kill Jason in Friday the 13th? How do you do it? I was always thinking, like, man, it's hard. That's a hard thing to do. You can't drown him. He lives. You can't burn him. First they tried burning me. Okay, Pee-wee.
Well, all right. I really don't know with Jason because Jason evolved quite a bit. But I was thinking about this recently with Freddy, and the obvious answer is money. With New Line, when they made Nightmare on Elm Street, they were struggling. Like that, the whole company was putting everything they had into making sure Nightmare was a success. It's got this great hook where Nancy pulls the hat out from the dream and realizes that the only way to kill Freddy is to pull him out of the dream and then turn her back on him, thus taking away his fear. To me, that's the only way to kill Freddy. They brought him back in the sequels because they needed sequels, because they had this success. Now they got to keep the company afloat, and Freddy had money-making power, So it always goes back to money. There is no true
You could always blow up Jason.
They already did.
Yeah, but he didn't survive. He only survived because the doctor, for some reason, put his heart in his mouth. I guess that's how you kill Jason. You blow him up. You can't survive that.
The only way to kill Jason is to stop making the movies. That's it. They should literally make a movie where, if they want to make the final one, like the 13th one, it's like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where they're just like, oh my God, Jason's after us. Wait, I got an idea. Let's just stop making the movies.
And bring all the girls back. They need to do that. All the girls want to come back. Why not, man? Let's have one big... Dude, the fans would freaking love that.
The only way to do that, because some of the girls died in the movies, like Adrienne King, is to do like a Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where you're setting it in the real world.
Right.
You bring the actresses back to play as themselves.
They start having
and
dreams or
somehow Jason attacks them.
In nightmares?
No, just
Oh.
Jason somehow attacks
No,
them
just-
in real life. And then they're just like, how do we kill him? Well, we'll just stop making movies based on him and he'll die. There we go.
What if it wasn't a dream? They're all dreams.
Then it'd be stupid.
Yeah. Well, anything else, my friend?
I don't have an answer for how to kill Jason, really. I mean,
I'd blow him up. That's what I'd do.
they did that.
And how do you resurrect him?
Flaming dog piss.
Yeah,
Out of my ass.
it's kind of sad they're like closing some of the Joker's showings because of like they're thinking it's gonna like incite violence and stuff. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I think that people need to understand that when they go watch a movie, they're not watching CNBC. They're watching
Right.
a movie. And not every movie has to be a social commentary on our political climate. And I'm getting really sick of that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to sit here and talk about my political beliefs or whatever. I'm just going to
Well,
say...
it just goes back to that age-old debate of real-life violence versus movie violence, and does it...
I don't even think it's about violence at that point. I just think that people are looking at like something like the Joker or any movie as a social commentary, and people need to realize it's a fucking movie based on a comic book character. Movies to me are an escape.
Yeah.
When I go to a movie, I don't want to be reminded about politics or the political climate or social commentary.
I
just
about
want to
that.
fucking be entertained sometimes. Joker is supposed to be a really good, fun movie, but it's based off of a comic book character. That's all it is. And to pull the movie from theaters because of whatever, I mean, there's all these school shootings that happened before the Joker came out. So just knock it off. It's just a fucking movie. You know?
Damn, well, there you go. Yeah, they're worried that like the movie's going to make people... Like I said, it's an age-old debate of real-life violence and movie violence.
They didn't pull...
Do you grow up watching slasher movies, you're going to grow up being a fucking psychopath.
They didn't pull Dark Knight Return or Dark Knight Rises from theaters after that fucking insane psychopath went and killed a bunch of people.
I think that's what
dressed
they're
as the
worried about is
Joker.
another shooting. That's and that's what sucks because
Well, if they're afraid of shootings, then you know what? Maybe they should just stop making fucking movies about the Joker then.
Right? Why make
It's not
why
gonna
make
stop.
such a controversial
It's
movie?
not going to stop the school shootings. People are crazy.
It just made $100 billion on its opening weekend, so I'm sure they're not too bad about it.
I'm how much longer? This is a debate that's been going on since the fucking O.J. Simpson trial. When I was a
Yeah.
kid, people were debating about fucking. This is way back in Mortal Kombat 1 days.
They want to blame something. They got to blame something for their kids being all fucked up. Oh, it can't be me and my bad parenting. It's got to be,
I just don't know why everything has to be a fucking social commentary and why everything has to be so political.
It's getting
now.
bad out there, dude. It's getting bad out there.
It is, and I'm sick of it.
Like, I wouldn't even want to be a comedian
Just shut
anymore.
the fuck up.
I wouldn't even want to be a comedian. Because you're going to offend someone.
I applaud every comedian that comes out and purposely says something offensive. I applaud
I
every
agree.
one of them because it's just like, come on, man. Like
Have a sense of humor.
I've got a soft skin too. I mean, I get not offended, but I'm very sensitive to certain things too. When someone says something, I take
Like
things
Judaism, probably, or
anything.
that's probably
I take things kind of the wrong way too. That someone says to me that they didn't intend it, but it's like you just can't please everybody. You can't be worried about offending everybody. And come on, knock it the fuck off. The moment one person
Preach
offends. The moment one person offends you, you're going to turn around and say something else that offends someone else. So just knock it the fuck off. Go, have a Coke and a smile and shut the fuck up.
My man. Perfect, Lenny. Well said. That's a great way to end it, almost. Fuck you, people. Go see Joker.
I would like. I'm
probably
curious.
not gonna go see it.
I'm curious about the Joker.
We'll see. I like Joaquin Phoenix. He's a good actor.
The last movie I saw was Rambo: Last Blood.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
It was all right.
it was all right. I mean, I don't know. I had problems with it. It was fun. But even that movie, like people were talking about, it's anti-Trump. It's oh my fucking god.
Really?
Yeah, because he kills Mexicans in it.
Well, that movie kind of just came and went though with a whimper. It seems like it didn't make much of a splash.
Rambo, I always thought that's another one of those
Secondary
movies.
to Rocky, almost.
Well, that's another one of those movies. Well, Rocky is doing stuff well.
Yeah.
You know, Creed and Creed
was a
2
big hit, yeah.
were both pretty good. Rambo, I just always felt, even with the fourth one, which I love, that's my favorite Rambo film, was the fourth one. But Rambo was a product of the 80s. He doesn't really work in today's, because it began as a social commentary about the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Vietnam War is over now. It was over when First Blood came out. It was just talking about how the American soldiers who fought that war were treated by America when they came back. That's what that movie was talking about.
Which is awful.
It's it's really no longer relevant. It was probably more relevant during the Bush era in the early 2000s.
I'd say it's still relevant today. There's still people coming back from the war, and we're
Well,
just
the
not
Rambo
helping
that
them.
I just saw is different from what Rambo started out as.
Yeah.
But it's a fucking movie about a guy killing a bunch of Mexicans. It doesn't have to be political.
My feelings are hurt. Go fuck yourself. And then look at someone like Married with Children. Oh my God, can you imagine that show today? In today's age?
Yeah.
And making fun of fat women all the time, which, isn't nice. As funny as it was. But man, today, no. It's amazing how the times have changed. I mean, we're only 34. Oh, you're 30. Well, how old are you? 38? We grew up in a time. It's just how. What are you, 40? Times have changed so much. Just in our lives, it's crazy. I miss the old days. It really is something. Dude, I heard they took Rose out of like all the advertising. I haven't seen anything with Rose. Maybe they'll actually fucking do something right and like not have her in the movie at all.
I don't know. She definitely wasn't a fan favorite.
No, she was awful. I don't want to get on Last Jedi. We won't do it. But yeah, you're right, though. I agree, though. Low expectations for Rise of Skywalker. The thing is, too, is I don't fucking care. I just don't care.
Yeah.
Who cares what happens to Rey? I don't. It doesn't matter.
Well, it was just like when The Empire Strikes Back ended, I could imagine sitting in that theater in the 80s and being like, oh, my God. Like,
What next, please?
Yeah. With
definitely.
this series, it's just like when Last Jedi ended, I'm like,
It's so meh.
okay,
care.
whatever.
Oh, Kylo Ren's
I don't
pitching a
care.
fit. Yeah. I mean,
That-
nice to have Lando back. And I love what he said that panel when he said Lando never left me. I always thought that was so cool. They're like, when they
That's funny.
Someone asked
I
him,
met
like,
Billy D. Williams, and
Yeah.
it seemed like he
Oh,
left
really?
a long time ago.
Oh, when someone asked him, is it weird going back to Lando after all these years? He goes, Lando never left. No, that was kind of nice.
Well, all I can say is
Godspeed.
before Last Jedi came out, my problem when looking at those trailers was like, well, wait a minute. I mean, look at all the storylines here. And then I'm looking at Rise of Skywalker, and it's worse. It's like, look at all these
there's
fucking
actually more.
storylines. And on top of that, somehow you're trying to tie it all in to the 8 films that came before it. It's like, okay, you've got Billy D. Williams. You've got this new African-American character who is supposedly his daughter. You've got Rey and Poe
Yep.
and
The Knights of
Finn
Ren. The Knights of
going
Ren.
on their own adventure.
The Knights of
Somehow
Ren.
Rey has to finish off her journey with the Knights of Ren and Kylo Ren.
Oh, really? Is that what you heard?
Well, she's she fights Kylo Ren, and then there's evil
Palpatine.
Rey, and then there's evil 3PO, and then there's R2 and Lando, or
Don't forget Palpatine.
Palpatine, and then there's Chewbacca. This is a mess.
Unlimited power!
This is a fucking mess. I mean, I'll be there.
We're going to spend the
opening
first
night.
hour just trying to fucking get rid of Ryan Johnson's shit all over the trilogy. Just trying to correct all the mistakes he made. The whole first
J.J.
hour.
Abrams said something interesting, though, is that he comes from television, and in television, he's used to setting stuff up, having other directors come in and change stuff, and then he comes back in and has to just work with whatever they were given.
Right.
So he says he's not, like, correcting anything that Ryan Johnson did. He's just, Ryan Johnson changed stuff and made it his own. Now J.J.'s coming in and just...
Rey's going to be somebody. She's got to be. Except she's not. It's kind of dumb. She's just good at everything, and that's just the way it is, guys. Sorry. She's a girl. You know what I mean? She's got to be someone. She has to be. I hope she's Kylo's sister. That'd be fine. Have some dramatic weight here.
That'd be gross.
Why couldn't they kill Finn at the end of Jedi, man? Just kill him. Have him sacrifice himself. That would have been great. No, instead, we've been over this. Fucking Rose, of all people. Here I come, Finn. Then she has the balls to kiss him.
I don't want to talk Star Wars anymore.
I know. It's...
When somebody asked me the other day, "Are you a Star Wars fan?" I used to be.
I just want to talk about the original trilogy. I mean, the prequels, whatever, they're okay. But I just, man. And now looking back,
you actually like the prequels better than the sequels?
It's hard to say. Force Awakens, it was okay, but looking back, the movie's still a little forgettable. Like,
yeah,
it still kind of is. Like, it's not something I'm like waiting. I can't wait to see.
Force Awakens, when it first came out, you had the novelty of seeing like Han Solo return to the big screen.
Yeah.
And so they shot it that way intentionally. The first time they showed you the Falcon, and then Han and Chewie, and then Carrie Fisher comes in. It worked back in 2015. Watching it now, that no longer works anymore because now you have it at home on video. You can see it back to back with the other ones. And next to the other 6 movies, it doesn't have any weight. Okay, that's great. Han Solo's in the movie now, but so what? Once that initial shock is gone, and you kill him off, so it's like, yay.
Yeah. It's just, I just don't care. You're going to go see it opening weekend?
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I'll pay probably $50 for a ticket and then go and
screwed, dude.
Be disappointed.
You got fucked. Here's a bucket. You got fucked.
I got trading cards too, man.
Shut up.
I did.
Oh, I got my Rose Tiergo trading card. Rose is a spy for. She believes in feminism.
It was like Rose, Hodo, and like fucking
Hodo. Hodo. Weren't you, Dr. Sattler? What purple hair? I'm gonna ride my spaceship into this spaceship. Bam! God, fuck that movie, dude. Hodo or Hodor. Hold the door. Hodor! Oh, man. Woo! That's funny. Anyways, let's weaponize hyperspace. All right, I'm done. Oh, the Resistance could have done that a long time ago. Could have just flown a fucking ship into the Death Star, blew it up. Whoops. Oh, anyways. I think we should end the podcast. It's been an hour, man. Thank you. Thanks for getting your word out on Poltergeist and talking some other things with us. And
hey, no problem.
It's always a pleasure.
Always here to talk about messy movies and stuff just all over the map.
Yeah, we just finally had some stuff to talk about, so there we go. All right, folks, thank you so much for having us. I have to go.
This has been another episode of Schmuckast. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, that's true. Bye.
Fuck Trump.